I was about 35,000 feet over Boise, Idaho. I was in the reserves at Shepherd and flying for United Airlines as 2 jobs. We left out of Spokane, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, just when the whole thing was starting to get kicked off. And there's a computer that sits, well, relative to me, it would be on the left side, and it normally doesn't just spit out information. And it just started scrolling out stuff. Like, okay, that means they're trying to get a hold of us. It's rare. So you take the little piece of paper, you rip the message, and we look, and it says, use caution. We look at each other and go, okay, well, we'll be cautious. Me and the pilot, the captain. And then 5 minutes later, we get a message to warn the flight attendants in the back to use caution and be aware for any suspicious activity. Still curious messages with no ground in anything we've ever seen before. Then the air traffic control comes over and says, you need to land. We thought that was funny. We're like, sure, we're going to land at Denver. And they said, no, you don't understand. You're going to land now. So pretty day, so we essentially just drop our instruments and see what's close by, and Boise, Idaho is close. So we make our sweeping diving turn into there and land. Now, obviously, it's more than just kind of a little comical or odd to us. It's everybody's curious, a little apprehension, because it's way out of the norm. And then as soon as we get clear of the airplane, that's when, the massive or the huge number of repetitions of the airplanes hitting the Twin Towers and all that was going down. Come to find out later, my wife was the most concerned person because she is in a church group at that moment, and they're all praying, and she is just staring at her cell phone waiting for it to kick off. So she was happy to get the phone call from me. So we spent 4 days in Boise, Idaho trying to get home. It turned out that by the time we left Boise to take our airplane into Denver, most of the passengers had left, and we flew in there to a very eerie experience. Any busy airport that all of a sudden is not busy and airplanes sitting around everywhere was almost like something out of a science fiction movie because everything was radically different. And there's nobody in the airports, nothing. And it was the next day, I was working my way through the airline system to get home. And the company was going to take me to Chicago, so I was trying to fight back to my home in Texas. And the captain looks at me and goes, where are you going? Yeah, that's where I live, that's what I'm trying to do. He says, don't worry, I'll take care of you. The captain of another airline made sure that I got an airplane home to see my family. Unlike everybody else that had been gone during that time. That was a meaningful homecoming as we all lived through the shock and the attack. And shortly thereafter, every military person, even the ones that I knew that had gotten out, wanted back in and wanted a piece of what was about to happen, because there was no doubt that we were going to do something. So we all, in a matter of speaking, got the guns out of the closet, started getting ready to go to war. And so that was my 9/11 experience.
I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, working in the Headquarters Air Combat Command Command Center. Basically, we just went through some renovation projects, and we're sitting in a temporary facility, but I was at the primary facility escorting some individuals to put some comm support under our drop-down floors. And basically, we were under the floors pulling wires to and cables, and where we sit at, I had a cell phone, but the cell phones don't work in that particular area. And I heard a little bit of a commotion outside the door, and stepped outside the door and heard some people mention something about planes running into the World Trade Center. Based off that, I kept working a little bit more, and then I thought, well, we have a TV in here with a little bit of cable on. I cut it on and saw the TV, and sure enough, there it was. And those who know me, usually I don't have a loss of words, and that was one time I had a loss of words, and I felt I wasn't even in the military, just kind of thinking, holy crap, oh God. And I think I sat there for about 5 minutes watching it, and then I realized, based off the nature of the job I do, command and control, I thought maybe it's about time for me to close up in here and get back to work. So I basically closed up the shop, got the contractors out of the area, and proceeded to get in my vehicle. And right before I rode in my vehicle, my cell phone finally, I guess, caught the signal, and it started blowing up. It had a lot of messages, and as I caught one before I drove away, it was my boss saying, "Where are you? We've been trying to get a hold of you." And got back to work, and of course it was a pretty busy day. It was already scheduled for a 12-hour day shift, and that 12-hour day shift turned into about a 17-hour day shift because I volunteered to stay behind to work some stuff. I think at the time when it first happened, didn't know the severity of it. I knew it wasn't a good thing. And, I thought about my family. I did take that my moment to make sure my family's doing all right, because I know I have family from my wife at the time in the New York area. So kind of, I guess, to me, when you're in the military, you feel superhuman, and I felt human at that point.
I was in English class as a sophomore at the academy. Throughout high school, I knew that I wanted to serve and also wanted to be financially independent from my parents. And so when the opportunity came up to go to the Air Force Academy, I jumped on it. I went there, and second year English class, I remember walking in and seeing the instructor had the TV on, which is of course unusual for English. So we looked at it, and I saw the tower burning, just one of them. And I just remember thinking at the time that, okay, somebody's shooting a movie. It's kind of unusual, and it kept playing and going. I was like, okay, this seems less and less like a movie. And then when we saw the second plane hit, just like everybody else, we knew the world changed at that time. There's a lot of times in my life that I thought I was doing the right thing, but that's one of those where you know that you're in the right place and you're going on the right track for something that you want to do that's important to you. After we finished up the academy, I got a pilot slot. I came through Vance Air Force Base, and I earned a C-130 out of Dias. I really enjoyed serving with them. We got to do 5 deployments split between Iraq and Afghanistan. We basically took a lot of Army and Marines wherever they did or didn't want to go around the theater, and I make sure they got what they needed. We got to resupply a lot of people as well, and the best part was taking people home when they'd done their service. Those are some of the happiest people you'd ever see. After that, I got that assignment completed, and I came back here to Vance Air Force Base again, and now I'm teaching the T6, and we get to take basic pilot training students and prepare them for their next track of training. So it's a real privilege to take the current generation and get them ready for the people that are going to frontline position where they can serve too. Most of all, I'm just happy to be in a position where I can serve the Air Force. A lot of people, the same as me, were just as eager as ever to get out and serve, and we're glad that we're already in the training pipeline because you wanted to get out and do your part as well. It was also a little confusing because the whole base, just like a lot, went on lockdown, so it wasn't necessarily a fun time to be around. But it definitely gave everybody a sense of purpose that they were moving towards something that was important for them.